Greetings and welcome back to another wristwatch video and another wristwatch review. And as you can see by the title, today we are talking about one of the most hyped lines of watches in the last couple of years, at least in the more affordable price range, the PRX line from the brand Tissot. More precisely, we are talking about the Quartz 35mm version of the Tissot PRX watch. So before we switch perspectives, take a closer look at this watch. As always, wristwatch check. What am I wearing today? Well, today I'm wearing my own Tissot watch. In fact, my first watch I ever got. It is the Tissot PRX 516. Now, I haven't yet made a review of this watch. It will be coming very soon, but I have made a review of the strap the watch is on. It is the Artem sailcloth strap, and if you're interested in the review of Artem straps, link is in the description of this video. Now, let's switch perspectives, take a closer look at the PRX watch, then come back here, talk about the pros and cons, and overall if I recommend you to buy this watch. Okay, so it's time to take a closer look at the Tissot PRX. I don't have the box with me, the watch came in, so we're just gonna jump straight into the dimensions of the watch. However, before you do all that, heads up, I'm sorry about my hand. It's just that my PR was very cross with me that I didn't upload for a month, so I guess this was its punishment. Now, the dimensions of the watch are, of course, 35mm in diameter, as is in the name of the model. The thickness or slimness of the watch, should I say, is only 9.8mm. The lug-to-lug distance is 39mm. However, I will not be listing the lug width. Why? Well, I will tell you that a little bit later. The watch, the case of the watch at least, of course, is made out of 316L stainless steel, as is to be expected in this price category. And the watch has an excellent level of finishing. We have mostly brush finished on the sides and on the top. However, we also have this beautiful high polished chamfered edge going around the case of the watch. The crown of the watch is at the 3 o'clock position. It is a sign crown with the T for Tissot, and it is a push-pull crown, so you pull the crown out when you want to set the watch and click it back in when you are done setting your watch. And also the water resistance for this watch is a bit higher than you would expect. This watch has a declared water resistance of 100 meters. Now that means you can like swim with this watch, wash your hands with this watch, but having in mind it's not a screw down crown, I still would suggest you to be very careful, because push-pull crowns are just not as water resistant as screw down crowns can be. Now the bezel of the watch is also very nice. It's a lovely polished kind of bezel. It's an excellent level of polishing on the bezel. The crystal protecting the watch is a flat piece of sapphire crystal. Now, how you would know if it is sapphire crystal or not? Well, you have two ways to do it, and if you're interested in that, I already made a video where I show you this, and it is in the description of this video. And while we're already here, let's take a closer look at the beautiful dial of the watch. So as you can see, it is this gorgeous sunburst blue dial. I absolutely love how this dial looks. I just love sunburst dials. The hour markers, they are baton hour markers, and they're all applied, and we also have double batons at the 12 o'clock position. The minute markers are printed and they go all around the dial. Below the 12 o'clock position, it says Tissot 1853, and above 6 o'clock it says PRX, and in between the 6 o'clock position it says Swiss made. Also in the 3 o'clock position we have the date complication, and the date wheel itself is in this white color. Now, our markers as well as the hands of the watch all have lume on them, except for the seconds hand, of course, and it is, at least according to my research, BGW9 Superluminova. Does it last long? No, not really. As most Tissot watches in this price category, the lume is very bad. Now, as we can see, the seconds hand is going tick, tock, tick, tock. It's not going in a smooth motion, and what this usually indicates is that it is a quartz movement, and it is. The movement powering this watch is the ETA F06115 quartz movement. Now this movement has 3 jewels, and its battery life is from 5.5 to 7.5 years, depending on the battery you use in the movement. And also this movement has the hacking function and the date complication. So essentially, if we were to pull out the crown to the first position, we can set our date. If we would pull out the crown to the second position, the second head stops, so it is a hacking movement. Of course, it doesn't have hand winding because it is a quartz watch after all, so there is no need to have the hand winding function. And that's more or less it regarding the watch. Let's just talk about the bracelet of the watch. It is a stainless steel bracelet with excellent finishing, as well as the case. It actually flows very nicely from the finishing on the case to the finishing on the links of the bracelet. It is of course brush finishing. The watch or the bracelet is solid link and solid end link, and it is also an integrated bracelet. So that's why I didn't mention the lug width, because there isn't really much of a point in me discussing it, because it is an integrated bracelet. You can only fit like 2-3 bracelets or straps that Tissot makes themselves. However, at least they put the quick release mechanism on the bracelet so that you would not have any issues if you want to change it for like a rubber strap or a leather strap. Essentially, like I said, the finishing is brushed. It's very nice, and down at the clasp it says Tissot 1853. And how do you open the clasp? You just click these two buttons here, and it is a beautiful butterfly clasp. Now unfortunately it doesn't have any micro adjusts, so it might be a bit more difficult for you to adjust the watch to your wrist. This watch fits perfectly on my wrist. However, I cannot guarantee that everybody will have luck as I do with adjusting the bracelet of the watch. And that's pretty much it. I just need to show you how to set the watch. So when you pull the crown out to the first position, we can set the date by moving it upwards, or rotating the crown upwards, that is. And if we go to the second position, like I said, the seconds had stop, it hacks, and then we can set the watch however we like, and then when we're done we just click it back into position, and that's it. And finally, let me show you how this watch looks on my wrist, so maybe you can get a feel how it could look on your wrist. For reference, my wrist is 6 3/4 inches, and essentially I think it looks pretty good on my wrist, but I will let you be the judge of that. And here is the watch on my wrist. I think it works rather well in my opinion. And that's pretty much it regarding the Tissot PRX close-up. So now let's go back to the original perspective, talk about the pros and cons, and overall if I recommend you to buy this watch. And we're back, so that was the Tissot PRX close-up, and now we come to the part of the review where we list the pros and cons of a watch and come to the conclusion if it's worth a buy, at least in my opinion. So let's start with the pros, because I think this little PRX right here has a lot of pros to offer, starting with the very Tissot brand. Now Tissot is a very old Swiss watch brand with a lot of heritage, a lot of history, and a lot of innovation in the wristwatch world, and I think it's a very respectable brand. And you know that somebody, if they have a Tissot on the wrist, they have at least a little bit of knowledge about wristwatches, so Tissot, the brand, is definitely a pro for this watch. The second pro is of course the sapphire crystal. Now if you've seen any of my wristwatch reviews in the past, you know that sapphire crystal is always a pro in my book because it is very difficult to scratch, which is good for me because I tend to scratch my crystals if they are not sapphire. So sapphire crystal is definitely a pro. The water resistance is also a pro. The 100 meters this watch offers are very good. They are very useful because, I mean, again, screw down crowns would give me a bit more, well, the screw down crown, if it was present on this watch, would give me a bit more confidence for the water resistance, but I think this is still enough. So if you're like caught in the rain, if you're washing your hands, you should not really worry about water getting into this watch. Now, of course, the finishing has to be stated as a pro. The finishing is top notch for a traditional wristwatch brand in this price category. Maybe a micro brand would be able to offer a bit better finishing, but again, this is a traditional brand. For a traditional brand, this level of finishing, the brushing, the chamfered edge, everything, it is just amazing. The finishing is definitely a pro. And while we're on the topic of brushing, the brushing on the bracelet, the clasp of the watch, solid links, solid end links, a pretty good butterfly clasp. It is definitely a pro of this watch. Now, also something a bit controversial, I listed the quartz movement as a plus, as a pro. Now, I know a lot of people don't like quartz movements. They think mechanical movements are always better. However, my opinion has changed on this issue, on this matter. Ever since I reviewed the Tag Heuer Formula 1 watch, I started to appreciate quartz movements a bit more because they are set and forget type movements. They are reliable. You just need to change the battery every couple of years. Sure, it won't last as long as a mechanical watch, but like this will last at least a couple of decades. So I think a quartz watch is a good watch, and I think the quartz movement in this watch is worthy of being stated as a pro. Of course, if you disagree, leave your comment in this video. And then the next pro I listed is the size, because I think the size is just perfect. Anybody can wear this watch and anybody can make it look good on their wrist. So even if you have a smaller wrist or a bigger wrist or an average wrist, this watch will look good on you. And the last pro I had to state, I had to make it separate from the finishing part. It is the beautiful blue sunburst dial, because you know I love sunburst dials, especially blue sunburst dials. Now the Tag Heuer one is still a little bit more better looking than this one, but I think it's still such a beautiful dial, especially when you're out in the natural sunlight. It just plays with the sunlight so well, so nicely. The blue dial, the blue sunburst dial is definitely a pro. And those are all the pros I listed for the Tissot PRX, but like every watch, this one also has a couple of cons. And I just want to emphasize, a lot of these cons are very, very minor, and they're a bit more personal to me. So don't take them too seriously. They're very, very minor. Well, the first one is not that minor. It is the bad lume. Now the lume on this watch is absolutely horrible. I don't know why they even included lume like this. Maybe they could have excluded it and make it a little bit cheaper, or maybe they could have added a bit more layers of the lume and maybe make it just like $10–20 more expensive, because the lume lasts like 15 minutes when it's fully charged by sunlight, and it's just very, very tiny amounts of lume. It's just really useless on this watch, so I think lume is definitely a con. The next con I stated is that there is no AR coating. Now this is a bit more personal of a con for me, because it's more difficult to me to film B-roll for reviews such as this one. But yeah, I would like it if they had some AR on this crystal. I think that would have been nice. The next very minor personal con for me is that the date window is not framed. As silly as it may sound, I just don't like the way the date window looks on this watch. I would prefer it had no date at all, or if it had a date, make it framed, make it fit a little bit better on this dial, because the way it is right now, it just seems a bit too aggressive, a bit too sudden for me. I don't know how to explain it in words in particular, but I just don't like that there is no framing on the date window. Now, another con for people who like to change straps on their watch is that due to the fact that this is an integrated bracelet, strap options are very limited, only to ones that Tissot offers. And you know, when you buy like straps or bracelets from the actual watches, from the actual watch brand, sorry, you know, they're a bit cheaper, well, at least quality wise, but a more expensive price wise. So yes, I think because of the limited strap options, if you like to change straps on your watch often, this is not a watch for you necessarily. And the last con I would state is that there are no micro adjustments. Now I was lucky to make this watch fit perfectly on my wrist, but I think for most people it will either be too tight or too loose, because you know, no micro adjustments are on this watch, on this bracelet, on this clasp. I don't know, I mean, I understand it's not a very expensive watch, but still I wish Tissot could have had some way to make this watch a bit more easy to adjust to most people's wrists. And that's it. Those are all the cons I stated. Like I said, a lot of them are minor cons. The pros still outweigh the cons. So having in mind what I just said, is this watch good? Yes, I think overall this watch is amazing. It fits my wrist perfectly and is very, very comfortable to wear. In fact, sometimes I would actually forget I even have this watch on my wrist. It's just very comfortable if you can size it properly. And due to the size, more or less anybody can wear it. Now finally, the biggest question regarding this watch is, should you buy this one or a mechanical, or more precisely Powermatic 80 version of the PRX watch? Now, if you ask me, in my opinion, I think Quartz is the way to go. First and foremost, this kind of watch is most faithful to the original Tissot C-Star watch the entire PRX line is based on. That Tissot C-Star was also 35mm, as was also a Quartz watch. So it's very, very faithful to the original. Secondly, I don't really see any significant advantage if you're having the Powermatic 80 version. Of course, if you really insist on having a mechanical automatic movement in a watch, okay, fine, go for it. But let's be real, the movement is very difficult to regulate. Maintenance costs are a lot higher than for a Quartz watch, and I just personally prefer the size and dial design of this Quartz model than the Powermatic 80 line of PRX watches. And finally, to conclude, do I recommend you to buy this? Absolutely, 1000% yes. I think the design is timeless. You have a strong brand, it's good value for money, the finishing, everything. It's just a very, very nice package. And trust me, this watch will last you for decades. You'll be very pleased if you purchase this kind of watch. And that's it regarding this watch review. Of course, if you like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you dislike the video, leave a thumbs down and maybe give me some suggestion on how I can improve my content. Subscribe if you want to see more wristwatch or fragrance related videos. And until next time, guys, have a great day and